And I understand that my audio and the visuals are off key. That's due to the bandwidth of my internet. I'm very, very sorry. But as I was saying, I am Yesika Gibson with Kaleidoscopes and Polka Dots, where I sell handmade, vintage-inspired jewelry for the soul who's in love with the past, wholeheartedly lives in the present, and embraces the future. If you enjoy videos relating to vintage fashion, jewelry, and books, then please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you never miss an episode. And please, 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 please go over to my Facebook group, CARAMBA Book Club Facebook group, where we will be conducting polls and choosing the books that we'll read going forward. Why have I decided to begin a book club? Well, like many of you, because I know a lot of us have had this epiphany that we are not doing our part. I had that epiphany, and I realized that I have been in the community, the booktube community, since 2015, roughly, probably earlier than that. Actually doing content, I think that was in 2016 when I opened my bookmark shop, which is why Kaleidoscopes and Polka Dots shows as established in 2016. Since then, I really haven't been intentional about the content that I produce or the content that I consume. In the last 2 years, we've all realized that we could all do better in recognizing everybody's perspective and honoring our differences and our different stories. Books have a way of bringing open the doors to those conversations in ways that tend to be much more amenable. They're still difficult, but I think that by studying the content and the context with which the author is providing us, then we can better and hopefully be more forgiving and understanding of certain groups and certain stories. I hope I'm making sense here. So the criteria for the books that I'm going to be selecting is very broad, and I am actually thinking about making it a little bit less so. So first, it's that the book needs to be written by a Latinx author from whatever genre. It doesn't matter their age or anything. I just want to celebrate and honor the work of Latinx authors. There was a study in 2019, and I realized that that is a very dated study, but I couldn't find anything that was more current. And that study found that only 7.5 authors, 7.5% of authors are of Latinx heritage. Generally, that book needs to have under 15,000 reviews on Goodreads, and it should at least have a 3.5 star rating on Goodreads overall. And that is simply because I don't like to hate read. I love reading and I love loving what I read. And because of that, I thought that that would be just fair. Now, I am considering lowering down the 15,000 reviews on Goodreads to maybe 300. Because the more I looked at all of the backlists of authors that I know that are very, very influential and popular, they a lot of the time have less than even 500. So maybe 300 to 500 reviews might be my sweet spot. All right, let's talk about the book club pick for January. Corazon by Yesika Salgado. So who is Yesika Salgado? Yesika Salgado is a Salvadorian poet who had a really hard time coming into her own. She went from catfishing, thinking that that was the only way that anybody would love her big, beautiful brown body, to now celebrating her curves through her words and by embracing crop tops, which she used to dread, but now make her feel sexy, bold, and beautiful. The last man she catfished asked her why she hadn't provided him with the opportunity to choose to love her instead of the facade that she was presenting to him. And this was after he had spontaneously asked her for a picture of herself, which sent her on a downward spiral and led her to tell him the truth. And from his question, why didn't you let me choose to love you as you are? That is what prompted her to seek therapy. And she worked with this therapist for over a year through exercises that were incredibly challenging for her to go through, such as looking at herself, taking selfies, posting them online, posting them in front of her everywhere. And then slowly she started seeing progress. She started to do her hair, wear makeup, really celebrate all of that she was given and all of that her body is and allows her to do and be, which is be a very gifted poet. And that, I believe, even though it was probably one of the hardest moments of her life, is probably what propelled her to stardom. Because by embracing herself, embracing all of what she was given, she became a renowned poet. She has been featured in Latina Magazine, Univision, Vibe Magazine, The Huffington Post, NPR, TEDx, and those are just a few. She resides in Los Angeles, and this is her first book. It was published by Not a Cult in 2017, and it is now the January book club pick for CARAMBA Book Club. I discovered this book through the LadyGang Podcast, which is such a fun and funny podcast. It's all things ladies, and it is a mix of pop culture and things that you could really sink your teeth into, such as poetry. I've learned a lot from this podcast, and I discovered her as she was one of the featured guests. And I think this was the year that she actually published her book, and she spoke so beautifully to the girls about love, about her experience, about loving herself. And she, more than any of the ladies, was very kind to herself and her journey. And she was like, stop doing that, stop saying that. And I just loved her. So I went out and bought her book right away, but I didn't read it right away because poetry isn't generally something that I gravitate towards. It's something that I have given a try, and it's usually the classic literature that I'm talking about, but I usually come away feeling a little silly and not very smart because I don't get the references, and there's so much nuance to each poem that I'm like, okay, when does it start? When does it end? What is this referring to? And then when it's finally explained to me, oh, it's about sex. Isn't everything though? Anyway, I just put it on my shelf, and it's lived there ever since. I have decluttered a number of times, but it continued to be there. And when I decided to open this book club, that's when I looked at my shelves and I realized that this beautiful book was still waiting and calling my name. And it ticked off all the boxes. So I picked it. And oh my goodness, was it an appropriate book club pick, especially for January. In January, I tend to be really hard on myself about all the things that I didn't do last year, all of the weight gain that I have over the holiday. But reading this book towards the end of December, early January, where I was at my heaviest, I gained 9 pounds last year, okay? I wasn't being the kindest, and this book reminded me to stop and really embrace and love what I have. Thank you so much, Jessica, for doing that for me. Now, my favorite poem, and I think the poem that most of you resonated with, is this one. This is the beginning part of the poem, and oh my goodness, it broke me. I am in love. I am a fat girl. Sometimes they are the same thing. Sometimes they're not. He tells me he loves me. He keeps me a secret. I love him. I am a fat girl. This is the same this time. I know that we all compromise to some degree in love at some point in our lives, and that is the way of life, isn't it? But as long as we remember that we are worthy and that we should aspire to love ourselves and to embrace all of what we are, as long as we come back to that, that is what's most important. The book overwhelmingly made me feel hopeful that even though our bodies will change and our journeys in love will change, because love, that feeling of new love versus slow and steady, long-lasting love, it's so different. I have hope. I have hope that it will continue. I'm married. I've been married for over 6 years, and it has definitely changed. I'm grateful for it. I feel so much stronger in our relationship, but it's been a journey, and this book just made me remember those times where it was explosive and immersive and all-consuming, and I'm glad that I'm not there anymore because, oh my goodness, it was hard. But that is why I loved her book. It made me remember that time and also the heartache that I've had to experience in the past before meeting my husband. Something that I would love to ask Yesika is what is one of her favorite Salvadorian dishes? Because, I mean, who doesn't love food? Who doesn't love to eat? I would love to embrace one of those dishes that really inspires her to keep going and to slow down. I believe that Yesika probably wrote this book as a way to honor her story, as a way to remind the world that they are not alone, and hopefully to provide inspiration to anybody seeking it. I was truly honored to read this book. I feel so honored that she shared it with the world and that she was vulnerable enough to share so much of herself and her misgivings. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for this book. I'm so grateful that it came to me when it did because I needed it. Anyway, that is it for my first live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so sorry for the audio and for all of the little mishaps. I hope that in the future it gets better. Again, if you are interested in joining me, please do so. Maybe next time I won't even show my face and I'll just show images so that we don't have to worry about this weird difference in space and time. Join me over on Facebook. Sign up to my newsletter. Subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please, please, please leave me a comment. Let me know if you've loved this book, if you've read anything by Yesika. I will also share a link to one of the videos from her TED Talk. I cried a little bit more that time, but it's very, very sweet. Oh, before I go, let me just let you know, next week I will be interviewing the one and only Estella Gonzalez. Oh my gosh, look at her. She is so beautiful. I am so, so excited and honored that she'll be joining me next week. If you are interested, I have already read the book, well, most of the book. I have 4 stories to go, but they have been so beautiful and magical. If you don't know, this is a short story collection, and it seems very real. They all seem very real, and a lot of the time very joyful. But we'll talk more about it next week. But if you're interested, right now it is on sale on Kindle for about $10. But if you like the paperback, which I personally prefer the paperback because you can actually write on it, it'll be about $17.83. So if you're interested, please head on over to Amazon right now. All right, I will talk to you soon. Bye.